Today I'm making healthy homemade tortilla chips, and I use these. I'm a big snacker, so I use these a lot for snacking. I use these with pico. I make guacamole just about every week. I like them with nachos because they're thicker than the regular tortillas that I usually buy and hold together better. And best of all, they are healthier than the tortillas that I used to buy. So now that I eat a lot cleaner, this is a good option for me. I store these in this container that I got from the Container Store, and they keep just in the pantry for a couple of weeks. I'm sure they would keep longer, but I've usually eaten them by then. I use sprouted grain tortillas, the Equal brand that I find at H-E-B frozen. This comes with 6 tortillas, and you can buy them not frozen like at Trader Joe's, but I talked to them there and they actually receive them frozen and thaw them out and sell them. So I prefer to buy them frozen. I make a small batch at a time, so I take 3 out, thaw them, and then just basically cut them up and bake them. I'll show you exactly how I do it. And I put the other 3 back and keep them frozen until I'm ready to use them. But you could definitely thaw all of them out. I just make small batches, just a little bit at a time. That's just the way I've always done it. So these are 3 that I had left over from my last batch that I'm letting thaw. And then I will cut them up and show you how to make them. Okay, the tortillas are thawed now. It only takes about 30 minutes. Set them on the counter, they will thaw out. Just a note about the fiber, every tortilla in here has 5 grams of fiber, so a lot healthier than the normal chips that I buy, and since I'm such a big snacker, I can feel better about what I'm eating. Okay, so the next step is just to cut them in whatever shape you want. I have my own little routine here that I've done. I've done this about hundreds of times, been doing this for many years. I basically have stopped buying the regular chips and eat so much better than I used to. Okay, so I cut it into strips like this, and if you like triangle pieces, you could cut it that way. I try to keep them about the same size because when you're baking them, they need a consistent size to cook. The oven is preheated now at 350. I also noticed when I'm making these over the years that some of the tortillas are thicker than others. So I sort them, you know, if it's a thicker tortilla like this one is, I'll try to bake all those together. And then if I have thinner, like this one is a lot thinner. So if I have a thinner tortilla, I know that won't take as long to bake. So I kind of set those in an aside and do those separately. I use my toaster oven, so I'm only doing a small batch at a time. So when you're baking them, you want to keep an eye on it because there is a happy window period for taking them out. Because if you take them out too soon, they're going to be flimsy, and if you bake them too long, they will be burnt. They'll get dark and crispy, which doesn't bother me. I usually eat them anyway, but some people are picky about that. Okay, so I try to maximize my space. I'm going to pop these in the oven at 350, middle rack. Okay, so 350, I'm going to set my timer for 7 minutes, but I know from experience it takes about 9 minutes, but I like to keep an eye on it. If you have a toaster oven, I recommend this because it's easier to keep an eye on them, and if you just get you a little pan, you don't have to line it with foil. I just always do. And once you get to know your oven and your temperatures, you'll figure out the time that works best for your oven. Every little oven will be different. So 350 for 7 to 9 minutes is what I'm doing today. While the chips are in the oven, let's look at the ingredients and see why these are so much healthier than regular corn tortilla chips. The ingredients say sprouted barley, millet, lentils, spelt. So don't be afraid of the sprouted grain. I think they taste great. I had a coworker one time, she found out she was allergic to corn. She was really sad that she couldn't go to a Mexican restaurant and have her typical chips and salsa, but I mentioned to her she can make these. She looked at me like I was crazy. I doubt she ever tried it, but she's really missing out because if you want to eat healthier, you just have to make some changes. Okay, you heard the timer and they are ready. As soon as they become crisp, and you can feel them and tell if they're crisp, they're ready to come out. If you can tell that they're still a little flimsy, they might need another minute. But like I said, you have to keep an eye on it because and you'll get to know your oven and know exactly what you need. And it's that easy. I've seen a lot of recipes where they add, I think the first time I did this, I added olive oil or fancy stuff, but I just, over the years, just figured out, just cut it and bake it, and that works for me. And it's such a healthier option and a more wholesome way to eat. And like I said, I make homemade pico, homemade guacamole, homemade nachos, and this is just a great option. So enjoy a more wholesome way to snack.